Greetings! This is the Mad Hermit with you once again for another poetry reading installment. Today we're going to read something from W.B. Yeats. It's entitled He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. Now before we go any further, let's just read through this. Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and the half-light, I would spread the cloths under your feet, but I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams. Now this is a very interesting poem, a very short poem, no doubt a love poem, for those of you who know a little about W.B. Yeats' biography. Basically, during his early time as a young poet, he had an infatuation towards a particular individual. No doubt this was a infatuation of unrequited love. And later on in his life, he tried to propose this individual 3 separate times, and in all three occasions, that individual ended up rejecting him. Now, I know that one shouldn't really try to correlate a poet's work with the poet's life. Actually, there's 2 different schools of thought regarding that. But, it's not very much of a far throw to guess that this poem no doubt has roots in the poet's own experience in life. But that's beside the point. I read this poem actually a few years ago while I was younger, maybe even in high school, so that makes it kind of like several years. But when I read it now, it kind of reminds me of a simple point. That point being is, we have more effect on other people than we would like to think. Now what I mean by that is that I guess the best way to illustrate this is basically recollecting the time when I was in college, again a few years ago, and during one of my lectures, the professor told this interesting story about this man who one night goes into a convenience store and buys a bottle of whiskey and a pack of cigarettes. He goes up to the cashier, and basically the cashier, as he's checking through the items, says, "How was your day?" And basically the guy responds saying, "What do you care?" The cashier responds back saying, "No, serious, how was your day?" Basically the man just shrugs it off and just says, good, fine, all that stuff. And basically after purchasing his items, he goes off. And the curious thing is, the next day, the very next night, the same man goes back into the convenience store, goes up to the cashier and says, "Thank you." The cashier, not knowing what exactly is going on, says, "I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, what did I do?" And basically the man ended up saying, "You remember that the other night when I came in and bought that packet of cigarettes and that bottle of whiskey?" And then the guy, basically, the cashier thinks to himself, says, "Oh yeah, you were that guy that came in. Yeah, I remember now." And basically it turns out that during that time, the other night, what the man was planning to originally do was just go and buy a pack of cigarettes, bottle of whiskey, go out to a remote location, smoke away the pack, drink away that bottle of whiskey, and then take a revolver or a rifle and then blow his brains out. But the thing is, something different happened that night. When he purchased those 2 items, when the man, the cashier, said, "How was your day?" it actually touched him, because it was like someone showing concern for him, and that actually prevented him from going out and blowing out his brains. Now these are 2 different strangers. They'd never seen each other before. No doubt after this incident they're no longer strangers. But the point of the matter is, we don't have to be an object of infatuation to have an effect on another person's life. We affect people in the general sense. Even with the most minor actions that we do, whether it might be saying thank you or please or holding the door open to someone, we affect another person's life. Now, lots of people might not admit it when we do a simple gesture and they get touched by it, and usually because they don't like to admit that, they're affected by it, usually we won't have an idea. But the fact is, we do affect a lot of people. More people than we think, more deeply than we think. And the thing is, because of that, we tend to take a lot of things for granted, namely people. namely strangers, namely the small things in life, and the small things we do in life. You know, whenever you're driving in a car, sometimes a person you end up cutting off, that could end up ruining their entire day, or adding on to other hurts that been, piling up throughout their day, and that could end up being the thing that, breaks the camel's back. Or we could be that one individual that holds the door open for this other lady who might have had a really bad day, but because of that ends up having a good day in the end, and just saying, well, this day was worth it. It's something for you to think about. I mean, although this is a love poem, maybe something you might see in a Hallmark store on a Valentine's Day card, but the point that it brings up is a very good point. It's a very worthy point, for the lack of a better term. But this has been the Mad Hermit with you. And again, I've included this poem below this video log for you to look at or read on your own. So, till next time, happy reading.